I still think about a man from 7 years ago. Not because he was the most attractive, not because he had the most money, not because he was the best boyfriend I ever had, but because of one thing he did that no other man has ever done. One moment, that carved itself so deep into my memory that I compare every man to him. 7 years later, I can still feel the exact emotions from that moment, because here's what most men don't understand about female memory. We didn't remember what you said. We remember how you made us feel. And there are 5 specific things that create memories so powerful, they become the standard by which we judge every other man. 5 things that make you unforgettable, not because they're grand gestures, but because they touch something so deep in female psychology that we carry them with us forever. Thing number OAN. Thing number 1. He saw through my masculine. Everyone else believed it. The first thing that makes a man unforgettable happened during a moment when I was performing perfectly. I was at a party being charming, funny, engaging. Everyone was laughing at mysteries. I was the center of attention, exactly where I like to be, but I was exhausted, emotionally drained, from putting on this performance. Most men at that party saw the show and were attracted to it, but he pulled me a seat in, said quietly, "You seem tired. Are you okay?" My stomach drops because no one was supposed to see past the performance. I immediately deflect. What? No, I'm having a great time. Buff doesn't buy it. He looks directly into my eyes and says, "It's okay to not be okay. You don't have to perform." Fom. My hands start shaking. Becca Zosomione just saw through 7 years of perfected social masks. I screenshot that conversation and save it in a folder I create called Real Moments Bows. I need to remember this feeling. That night, I spent 4 hours journaling about what it felt like to be truly seen, writing his exact words over and over. I Google, why do some people see through masks, and read psychology articles until 300 a.m. Year 1 o'clock. Year 3, I'm still quoting his exact words to therapists and friends when explaining what real connection feels like. Year 7, I use this moment as me benchmark for whether Sumione actually sees me or just likes my performance. This creates what psychologists call authentic recognition response, when someone sees past our performance to our authentic self, a sense of being truly known, rather than just liked. Relief from the exhaustion of constant performance. Fear and gratitude mixed together. An addictive desire to be authentic around that person. A memory that becomes a benchmark for real connection. Others, what made this moment unforgettable? He didn't try to fix me. He didn't offer solutions or advice. He just saw me and let me know it was safe to be real. 4 months afterward, I found myself thinking, I wonder if he would see through this. 2. Every time I put on a social mask, I remembered the man who saw past it. Every time Sumione implanted my performance, I wished it was him seeing my authenticity instead. I started a notes app list called People Who See Me versus People Who See My Performance, and he was the only name in the first category. Because when Sumione sees your real self and doesn't run away, they become the standard for what real intimacy feels like. Year 1, you break up with my boyfriend because he only loves my performance, not mere reality. Year 3, I'm still asking potential partners, do you see me the way he did? And they never understand the question. Year 7, his ability to see my authentic self has become a negotiable standard for real love. If you're recognizing how authentic recognition creates unforgettable moments, hit that subscribe button, beckos. What I'm about to reveal next is moment that makes women realize that they've never felt truly protected. Door. Thing number 2. He protected Tianji number Twami piece without me asking. But here's what really carved itself into my permanent memory. He protected my peace without me ask for it. This happened during a dinner with friends. One of my friends was being particularly critical about my life choices, making subtle digs about my career, my decisions, my lifestyle. Most men would have either joined in, stayed silent, or waited for me to handle it myself. But he quietly redirected the conversation away from me. Not dramatically, not obviously, just smoothly shifted the focus every time he tried to attack me. My heart pounds. I realize what he's doing, because no one has ever stepped in to protect me like this. Later, when I try to thank him, he acts like he doesn't know what I'm talking about. I was just making conversation, but I created a mental file of every single moment he deflected for me, replaying each one like a movie. I spend the next week analyzing how he redirected conversations and practice his techniques in my head. I screenshot textbooks of other men not protecting main group settings and compare them to his behavior. Month 1. I realize I feel emotionally safer around him than anyone else in my life. Month 6. I start expecting this level of other men, and I'm constantly depopped. Year 2. I break up with Sumion because they let people criticize me in front of them without intervening. Year 5. I'm still using high protective instincts as my standard for how a real man should treat me. Fistrigers, what psychologists call protective instinct validation. When a man protects our peace without being asked, it communicates. He's paying attention to our emotional state, values our well-being above social comfort. He's willing to take subtle action on our behalf. He sees protecting us as his natural responsibility. He does it because he wants to, not because he has to. But here's what made this unforgettable. Most people, including other men, only protect you when you ask for help. But this man saw I was binge attacked and quietly handled it before even realized I needed protection. He became my shield without me knowing I needed one. For years afterward, every time someone criticized me in a group setting, I thought, I wishy-washer. Every time I had to defend myself, I remembered what it felt like to have someone else do it for me. Every time I felt emotionally unsafe, I measured that feeling against the safety I created. I started noticing which men in my life protected my peace, and which ones left me to fend for myself. I created a mental ranking system where men who protected me without being a sked got instant respect. Year 1. I dump a guy because he joins in when his friends make fun of me instead of protecting me. Year 4. I'm still telling friends, Ariel man protects your peace without yo having to ask. Year 7. I refuse to date men who don't have this protective instinct because he showed me what I deserved. Because when someone protects your peace without being asked, they'd come your definition of safety. And that feeling of being protected, I've experienced it. You spend the rest of your life looking for it again. Thing number 3. He called me on my behavior when everyone else enabled it. And then there was the moment that me into permanent respect. Heckled me on my bad behavior when everyone else enabled it. I was being bratty about something small, making a big deal out of nothing, testing boundaries and expecting everyone to accommodate my mood. Most people in my life either ignored it or gave me what I wanted to avoid conflict. But he looked at me calmly and said, "That's not okay, try again." My throat goes dry because no one talks to me like that. Immediately get defensive. Excuse me, you can't tell me how to act. You're right. I can't control how you act, but I can control how I respond. Toit. And then he just stopped and I adjusted my behavior. I screenshot our text conversation effort and analyze it for hours, trying to understand how he maintained calm authority. That night, I lose sleep replaying how he said, "That's not okay, try again." Without any anger or drama. I Google how to set boundaries like a strong man because I want to understand his psychology. I write his exact words in my journal and study them like amateur class in self-respect. Month 1. I start respecting him more than any man I've ever known because he won't enable me worst behavior. Month 3. I catch myself acting better around him because I don't want to disappoint someone with such strong standards. Year 2. I break up with someone because they let me get away with behavior I know is wrong. Year 6. I'm still using his words, "That's not okay, try again," as my internal voice for self-correction. This creates what psychologists call behavioral accountability shock. When someone holds us accountable without injury or punishment, it triggers respect for their unshakable standards, recognition of our own poor behavior, appreciation for someone who won't enable our worst impulses, a desire to rise to their level of maturity, memory of what real strength looks like. Others, what made this moment permanently etched in my memory. He didn't try to change me through anger or manipulation. He simply refused to participate in my bad behavior. No lectures, no drama, no punishment, just clear boundaries to live with calm confidence. I found myself modifying my behavior around him, not because I was afraid, but because I respected him. For years afterward, every time I acted bratty with other people, I heard his voice, "That's not okay, try again." Every time Sumi enabled my bad behavior, I wished they had his strength to call me on it. Every time I caught myself being unreasonable, I remembered what it felt like to be held accountable with love. I started categorizing men into enablers and accounters, and only the accounters earned my real respect. I saved voice memos of myself practicing his calm authority tone, because I wanted to learn from his strength. Month 6. I realize I've modified my entire personality around his standards, and I'm grateful for it. Year 1. I refuse to date men who let me get away with bad behavior because I know I need Year 7, his accountabilities become the foundation of my self-improvement because he showed me what loving strength looks like, because when someone loves you enough to noticeable your worst behavior, they become your definition of real love. And that kind of loving accountability, most people are too weak to provide it. Things thing number 4. He chose me when he had better options. But here's the moment that's burned into my memory forever. He chose me when he clearly had better options. This happened at a social event where there were several attractive, successful women who were objectively more beautiful than me, more accomplished, more charming, more everything. I watched other men gravitate toward them throughout the night, but he stayed focused on me, not because I demanded his attention, not because he didn't notice the other women, but because he genuinely wanted to be talking to me. My hands shake when I realize he's choosing me over women seem like obvious upgrades. Later, I text my best friend. I don't understand he's not interested in other women's name. She's clearly more attractive. Spend hours analyzing what he could possibly see in me that he doesn't seeing them. I screenshot moments throughout night where he's looking at me, while other women are trying to get his attention. I create a detailed analysis in my notes app. Why he chose me over better options theories. Week 1, I obsess over understanding what makes me special to him when I'm objectively not the best choice. Month 3, I realize being genuinely preferred feels better than being settled for, and it changes standards forever. Year 2, I dump a man because I catch them checking out other women. Remembering what it felt like to be someone's clear first choice. Year 6, I still use this night as proof that the right person will choose you over better options and a refuse to accept anything less. This triggers what psychologists call selective preference validation. When someone chooses us over objectively better options, it communicates we have qualities that can't be easily measured or replicated. We are specific combination of traits appeals to the immunically. They see value in us that others might miss. Their attraction is based on genuine preference, not convenience. We are chosen, not settled for. But here's what made this choice unforgettable. I could see that he noticed the other women. He wasn't blind to their beauty or success. He just preferred me anyway. And that preference felt like the most powerful compliment he'd ever received. For years afterward, every time a man chose me, I wondered, but what were his other options? Every time someone said I was beautiful, I thought, but would he choose me in a room full of beautiful women? Every time I felt insecure about my value, I remembered the feeling of being chosen over better options. I started rating every man's interest based on what other options they had available when they chose me. I screenshot social situations where men choose other women over me and compare them to this night when I waste clue preference. Month 6, I realized that being chosen over options creates deeper security than being the only option available. Year 3, I refuse to date men who don't have other options, because being chosen by someone with choices means more. Year 7, this night has become my evidence that the right person will prefer me specifically, not just accept me generally. Because being someone's genuine preference when they could have anyone else becomes your standard for real attraction. It's not now to be wanted when you're the only option. You want to be chosen when better options are available. And on say of experienced that level of preference, everything else feels like settling. Thing number 5, he left thing. Number 5, his peak instead of overstaying. And here's the final thing that made him absolutely unforgettable. He left at his peak instead of overstaying. Just when I was getting completely comfortable with his presence, just when I was starting to take his attention for granted, just when I assumed he'd always be available, he stepped back. Not because he lost interest, not because he found Sumi, but because he valued himself enough to not overstay his welcome. Mr. Mac drops when I realize he's actually leaving while things are good. Most men either leave when things get bad, or stay until things get boring. Bov left while I still wanted more. Immediately screenshot our entire conversation history and analyze it for clues about his timing. I spent 3 weeks replaying every interaction, trying to understand when he decided to leave. I text my friends obsessively, does this seem like he's done? What did I do? Rune I Google, why do high-value men leave at their peak, and read articles about relationship timing. Month 1, I realize I took his attention for granted and now I can't stop thinking about him. Month 6, I keep expecting him to come back because the timing felt wrong to him, but perfect to him. Year 2, I start respecting men who know when to leave instead of overstaying. But I still miss him. Year 5, I finally understand that he left at his peak to preserve the memory. And I respect him more for it than any man who stayed too long. This creates what psychologists call peak experience preservation. When Simone leaves while we still want more, it preserves the relationship at itchiest point in our memory. Creates a sense of unfinished business that haunts us, makes us realize we're taking them for granted, forces us to acknowledge their value when it's gone, leaves us wondering what if instead of finally. But here's what made his departure permanently unforgettable. Hello with class. No drama, no explanations, no attempts to make me feel guilty. He just quietly removed himself from my life while I still valued his presence. And that timing, it was perfect. For years afterward, every man who overstayed his welcome reminded him of the one who left at the right time. Every relationship that dragged on too long made me miss the one who knew when to go. Every man who became predictable made me remember the one who remained mysterious. I started appreciating men who had the strength to live at their peak instead of waiting for things to get stale. I created a mental category, men who know their worth versus men who overstay. And he defined the first category forever. Month 3. I realized that missing Simone is better than being tired of them. Year 1. I break up with Simone before they can overstay because I learned the power of perfect timing. Year 7. I still use his departure as my example of how a confident man handles transitions with class and perfect timing. Because when Simone, while you still want them, they've come the standard for what you'll always be chasing. You don't miss them and who overstayed. You obsess over Theon who knew when to leave. And that perfect timing, it ensures you never forget them. Here's what you need: 2 final notes and next step. Understand about becoming unforgettable. You don't become memorable by trying harder. You become unforgettable, become irreplaceable. These 5 things work because they can't be faked or forced. You either see through masks or you don't. You either protect naturally or you don't. You either have standards or you don't. You either genuinely prefer someone or you don't. You either know when to leave or you don't. And here's the truth, that's unforgettable men from forgotten ones. Unforgettable men aren't performing for women. They're bind themselves so authentically that women can't help but remember them. You want to be unforgettable? Stop trying to impress her. Start impressing yourself. Stop performing for her approval. Start living by your own standards. The men will never forget weren't trying to bear remembered. They were just bind themselves and moments, real moments of authentic connection. Those become permanent. 7 years later, we're not thinking about what you said. We're thinking about who we were. Be someone worth remembering. If you recognize yourself in any of these behaviors, comment thing 1, below on, tell me which moment you think creates the strongest memory for women. But here's what you need to understand. Knowing what makes you unforgettable is only valuable if you know how to create at those moments naturally. Force them and they lose all their power. My video, How She Starts Missing the Man She Took for Granted, reveals exactly what happens in a woman's mind when a man with these qualities steps back. Because understanding how we process thoughts of someone unforgettable will show you why these behaviors work so powerfully. Watch how she starts missing the man she took for granted next. That video will show you exactly what goes through our minds when we realize we've lost someone irreplaceable.